Oh, got it. All right, Rabbi Isai. Here we go. We're learning about Cheshbon HaNefesh. Very important Cheshbon HaNefesh. Am I doing my best? Am I doing what I'm able to do? And then he goes on to say that when a person really puts everything he can into it and wants to go further and davens to Hashem, he's able to expand his abilities. Hashem grants him the beyond. It's interesting. I don't know if last time we learned this, last time means in the old days. I said over the story I heard from Don Segal, Shkiach. He was once with the Kloisenberger Rebbe. So that's how he both went Chaim L'Chaim. They were involved in something for the public, and they called in a young guy if he could take care of something, and the guy said, "I'll do my best." And the Kloisenberger Rebbe responded to that statement, said in Yiddish, but basically said, "Younger man, don't say you'll do your best, because you don't know what your best is." He said, when I was Rashiva in, I guess, Kloisenberg before the war, I was very frail, and in those days I had a very big sperm. So I didn't feel I could schlep the sperm, and I had a baruch that would help me schlep it. He says, but when they put me into the camps and I had to carry these big stones up and down the steps, I realized that I'm able to do much more than I thought. So he said, your responsibility, I'll try. He says, but to say I'll do your best, you know what your best is? So, okay, but on the other hand, it's not true that we're learning. A person does have to try to do his best, do as much as he can, make a cheshbon nefesh. Am I using my time well? Am I using my gifts that Hashem gave me correctly and to their utmost? And then, again, Chovos haLevavos said, and if a person is doing it l'shma, and he davens, then HaKadosh Baruch Hu grants him to be able to go and to know things even more. He brought examples even of secular stuff, an inventor, someone who comes up with a new idea. Where did the new idea come from? It's like out of thin air. I mean, until now, this idea, nobody had that idea. And everything in his mind that he has studied and stuff, that's wasn't there. So it's sort of out of thin air. Suddenly you go, whoa, I got an idea. He said, that's really a HaKadosh Baruch Hu granting you, opening your mind to something new that, like a nevuah a little bit. I think he even quoted that Chacham Odif Minavi, the Gemara says, even though we don't have Nevi'im today, but the Gemara says a Chacham's Odif Minavi, it's a shtickle nevuah, that you got a whole new idea that wasn't, so to speak, didn't exist until now. Okay, let's go further. I'm trying to find where we got up to. So I think in the Sefer, in the Leif Tov, we're on page Reish Lamed Beis. On the bottom, similar to this idea that we just explained. So my brother, you got to understand. Oh, I remember this. Also another Yisai. The main purpose of the mitzvahs that are incumbent on the actions, on the Evarim, it's to get us to the mitzvahs that are in our hearts, in our minds. Because those mitzvahs is really the foundation of Avodas Hashem, and it's the foundation, it's the root of the Torah. As the Pasuk says, as Hashem Lekechetira, you should fear Hashem, you should serve Him. That's a mitzvah motelis alalev, fearing Hashem. That doesn't necessarily mean the heart, as we know it. Vidya Miller keeps on saying that lev refers to thought. The Chazal refer to the heart. I mean, B'nemar, another pasuk in Dvarim, it's in your heart to do. B'nemar, a very famous pasuk. What is Hashem asking from it? we keep on checking my mitzvahs and matos alev alamatzun ulamal mikoich shalod. Says the Chovos. We'll see what Rav Matisyahu says on these two paragraphs. I'm sure he says a lot. He says, being that the fulfillment of these mitzvahs is beyond the ability of a person, the kaimoi son, because you can't fulfill. You can't. Many of us means I, the royal us, right? But I fear Hashem. I'm a Yarei Shemayim. It's mostly true up to a certain extent. But am I really a Yarei Shemayim when I want to do something wrong? So they say, well, no, God can't do it, or do I do it? My typhus, right? My typhus kick in. He says, you can't really fulfill those mitzvahs hamutalas haLevavos until you've separated yourself from your physical, animalistic desires. Until you conquer your physical nature, the yarasen is to nosav, and you could muzzle, you could pull in, you could control your actions. I know about you guys. I don't think you guys have this problem, but like I know when I want to diet, right? And I make a decision I'm going to diet, and then I suddenly find myself eating, and because my typhus are ruling me, and I'm not ruling my typhus, right? I may have my mindset, I'm not going to eat. What are you doing? Why are you eating? So until you could control, until your mind controls your body, your physical desires, which is our goal, he's saying, then you can't be really Yarei Shemayim because you're not really in control. You're not in control. It's your typhus that are in control. Your mind is just used. This you see, so let's talk about, someone who's totally not shaykh to avodas Hashem, not even a Jew, right? I mean, his mind is just a hechetimsa to try to get more pleasures. His mind, his intellect, it's all tools for the pleasure principle. And our avodas Hashem is to say no, that our desires and all that should be subjective to our minds. They should just be tools for us to do what we know is right. And so he's saying it can't be a Yarei Shemayim if even though in your head you know these things, there's a mitzvah, but your mind's not really in control. The mind isn't really, it's making the calls. You might fool yourself, but when you take a good look in the mirror, you realize your mind isn't making the calls. It's your desires that's making the calls, and the mind is just a tool for your desires. How can I get it better? How can I get more money? How can I have more food? How can I make better food? How can I have more pleasure? So he's saying you can't really be a Yarei Shemayim until you've pulled in. You've a resin is a muzzle on the animal's mouth. Right? Your resin is to know the hita baris gufa ver mitzvahs. She can't be choktuken. So I can't really fulfill those Yarei Shemayim because my starting point is that I'm a physical person. He says, so what does Hashem do? He first gives us mitzvahs of the physical. And when I do the mitzvah of physical, that purifies, that allows me to control them. And then once I can do that, then I can do the others. By dekach b'yachota Chovos. Afterwards, it becomes easier. It's easy to serve Hashem. Gam es hamitzvah matos haLevavos. Let's see. This is very juicy stuff. Let's see what it says over here. Let's see what he says here. Wow, I got a lot underlined last time. He says on page Tzadi in the Matnas Chalka, and again, we're learning schus. I don't know what the matzah of it is because many times in the news they tell you someone's sick, but they forget to put updates. Matisyahu Chaim Beneto. He says on Tzadi. He says, how can I put fear of Hashem in my heart and make my heart love Hashem? Kilo, you're talking last is Tzon Hashem. He says you can't do the Ratzon Hashem because Ratzon Adam will happen. If I'm in the grasp of my taivas, it means that my desires is not to do avodas Hashem. My desire, me as myself. So how can I do Ratzon Hashem when my Ratzon is the opposite? My Ratzon is to have a good sandwich, it's the fresh. It's to see how can I get better food, how can I find a better restaurant. That's where I'm at. So he says, therefore Hashem gave us the mitzvahs on the Ivorim. You can't eat every food. You can't always eat. You got to make a bracha before you eat. You have to have, all these things. You always hear these stories. Okay, I take away you always hear, right? But you hear stories of Chiloni Jews who see how a little Jewish kid is handed a candy, and before he eats it, he runs to his mother. Is it kosher? Right? And I've read that they are in wonder, like this little kid, that he has so much control that he's not going to eat that delicious candy until he asks, "Can I eat it? Is it kosher?" These are things that give us that control over our physical. And Hashem gave us many mitzvahs to do with our physical body. He says, and I could do it even if I don't have such a big desire, because it's a physical action. Like there's a nuchalovei de yiras Hashem ayin b'samach, as we'll see in a minute. So we move on here. Oh, so continues the Chovos haLevavos on page Reish Lamed Gimel on the bottom of Kasha Adam Mismasa L'Kiyum HaMitzvos B'Libo U'Matzpuno. When a person does give himself over, and does do to his best of his ability these mitzvahs, lost the place. So this is what he was saying, that Hashem sees and he opens for you. He gives you a gift. He opens up the levels, the madregos of ruchnis, and then you can reach things that are beyond your ability. To the extent that then you serve Hashem both with your body and your nefesh, with your outside, and your inner side. Libi uvisari, Yiranu el Chai. Wow, say this so many times, it's even a song. My heart and my basar will be maranin, will sing, will praise HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You reach the level where, like I said, your physical becomes a tool for the ruchni, and then it's we are in this world. We're not malachim, we're put in this world, and we end up serving Hashem with the physical also. He says they've already given a marshal to what an Oved Hashem can be compared to. Person planted trees in order to be able to enjoy afterwards the fruit of the trees. If this person first goes and he weeds out all around the roots of the tree, the weeds, cleans the ground, right? Takes out the thorns and the grasses, and waters the plants, the trees as necessary. He fertilizes them. That person can hope he could turn to Hashem and hope and daven that these trees should grow fruits. But if he looks away, he ignores that he has to cultivate the field and he has to do what's necessary. When that Hashem is going to make the trees grow fruit, you didn't do yours. You didn't cultivate the trees. You didn't take care of the field. The same thing as an Oved Hashem. It's what a person does. He works and does whatever is in his ability to. And then Hashem takes over and gives him the ability to do beyond. Which is the fruit of his actions. That Hashem grants his chosen and those who are loved by him. Says in Pirkei Avos, someone who fulfills the Torah even out of poverty, he's gonna at the end fulfill the Torah out of riches. It says here on the bottom. When it says you fulfill the Torah out of poorness, he says it means that I cut corners with my time. Only mean that I'm being I from my hours of my work and my parnasa, the time of Torah is a mitzvahs. I cut all kind of corners. I should have more time there to serve Hashem. And yes, and therefore he has to serve Hashem with not having so much. So if you come then Hashem will see that he's willing to do that. Then Hashem will grant him the riches, and then he'll have a lot of time to fulfill the Torah. And the riches is just a way Hashem says, I see your desire to serve me and you're doing your best. Instead of saying, no, I have to have a very comfortable, cozy parnasa. And then, I come home and I have a half an hour to learn, Instead, you say, no, I'm willing to do without. My desire is to serve Hashem, and I'll do the minimal to get by, and then the rest of the time I will serve you. Then Hashem says, okay, so then I'm going to even give you more time. I'll give you an easier parnasa. You'll have more money. You have to work less, and you'll be able to serve me more. Says Rav Matisyo. On page Tzadi Aleph, 4 lines down, a person can't really control his heart. Like, there's always these questions. How could there be mitzvahs? Tell me not to be jealous. How do I control my mind? If I'm jealous, I'm jealous. How could you tell me to love Hashem? How could you tell me to fear Hashem? How do I can't control these things. He says, Rak Shaidei Bisari. That's what David Amach said. Libi u Bisari, Yeranan u Kelchoy. Just, but my mitzvahs anasis, and my Varim Yitan Hashem is for a Yira believer. By doing that, then Hashem's going to put in my heart the Yira. And that also explains the pasuk above, Ata Yisrael. Hashem says, or rather Moshe Rabbeinu says in the name of Hashem. Why does HaKadosh Baruch Hu already ask Kim liyiras Hashem? Always asking Shafir Hashem Elikecha. Shav shein yira alev mesrubi adod. What do you mean? Hashem only wants me to fear Hashem. I'm not in control of that. But it means is you do your actions. You do the Ma'aseh mitzvahs. And by you doing that, I, Hashem, will implant in you Yira. That's what the haLevavos says above. You got to do what you could do. Then Hashem gives you even what wasn't in your control. Nimtza, if he's there. Says it comes out based on this. If you're more careful in the mitzvahs, you go the extra level. You do the mitzvahs in a more, call it stricter way, in a more mahuda way. So Makabi Yerushalayim Yoisa, then he's going to get more Yerushalayim. And not as people think, Shaydei Yira, Yidaktik Yoisa, that if I have more Yerushalayim, that's going to bring me to be more careful in the mitzvahs. He says it's not like that. It's the more I'm careful in the mitzvahs, it's going to bring me more Yerushalayim. That's what the Chovos is saying. He's saying I really don't have control of my Yerushalayim. The only thing I could do is my hamitzvahs, and that will bring me to them. Hashem will give it to me. Shum Shira, he came in Hashomayim. Yira is from Hashomayim, Ba'av Shamur Chazal. Even though the Gemara Baruch says that Kol B'dei Shomayim puts me Yerushalayim, right? Famous Gemara. Everything is done by Shamayim. We don't really have too much control over our lives, except the year of Shamayim. That's what we have. So Isameris, that means, which would seem to be the opposite of what we're saying. Means a person has to have a desire for Yerushalayim. The desire to have Yerushalayim is in my ability. When I do have that desire, it's going to bring me to take the steps that are necessary that I can get here. Yes, and that's doing the mitzvahs. Now just another little bit. And he says, though it's true that even doing the actions are against really my rotza and my nature. My nature is not. My nature is not. My nature is to fulfill my taivas. And therefore, a person has to have a set time to learn Musa, which brings him to be careful to do the mitzvahs. Which mirrors the halachas the tikkun amidas. Those are the things that brings a person to Yirah Shamayim and to tikkun amidas ayin sham. But it was that I'm not going to learn and be medaktek in my mitzvahs if I don't learn the Musa. I need the Musa to inspire me to be medaktek in the mitzvahs and be careful what it says in the Shulchan Aruch. And by doing that, it's going to bring me to Yirah Shamayim. Okay, we'll continue Bez Hashem tomorrow. Bez Hashem Yisparach. Thank you.